Hello, and welcome to another episode of $0 Productions' ridiculously popular show, title pending. It's getting more popular. I got like 20 whole views on my last video. Go me. I think I should probably put that little Zelda hashtag on more videos. I think that's how I get the views. Anyways, so today I'm going to explain first the rules of the drinking game, so that you know how to properly drink along at home. Okay, so every time I drink, you have to drink. That's the rule. And every time you take a picture of yourself drinking and post it to the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/$0productions, then in the next video, I will drink for every picture there is posted to the Facebook page. That's right. And if there's 10 or more, then I'll just down my whole pint, and then I'll start again for the video. Anyways, we're going to jump into today's top 5 video. This is actually a fan-suggested topic. I have a fan. I'm so impressed with myself. Anyways, this comes from Josh B. from Facebook. If you'd like to suggest a fan topic, you can do through... Alright, well, I screwed up my line, so drink. Anyway, if you would like to suggest a fan topic, you can do so by leaving a comment in the comments below, or by posting on the Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and tweet at me. And if you have a good idea for a top 5, or just something you'd like to hear me kind of blab about, then go ahead and do one of those things. Anyways, today's top 5 video is going to be the top 5 Nintendo consoles, as suggested by a guy on Facebook. Anyways, we're gonna jump right in. Number 5 Nintendo console is the Nintendo 64. Now, some people are probably going to be like, oh man, it should have been higher, it had Ocarina of Time. Yeah, I thought about it. Anyways, Ocarina of Time and a lot of Nintendo games for the Nintendo 64 were really great, because that's kind of when gaming was sort of jumping into 3D. You had that and the PlayStation kind of at the same time for 3D gaming, and there was a lot of cool stuff coming out for that had never really been done before. So that's, I think, kind of why it's one of the icons of gaming history. It was the first time that a lot of us played really big 3D open games, even if none of them were half as open as like a lot of games they make now. A lot of them did with the constraints that they had at the time, and they still made a game at least as good as any of those games. And at that time, Ocarina of Time felt like the biggest world you had ever explored in any game ever. It was fantastic. Super Mario 64, a lot of people had that same kind of feeling, and a lot of those early 3D games just felt like such a big open sandbox because you could move in 3 dimensions, which was just freeing. This is the time at which gaming became really epic, and I think more than any other time, that was a good time to be alive as a gamer. So you could play those games at the time as they were coming out. I don't think there was a better time. Even now we have games that are technically better. They have better graphics and sound and different kind of gameplay, but without the first games that jumped into 3D, we wouldn't have any of that. And to experience that for the first time is much more powerful of a feeling than seeing it done and redone 100,000 times like it is now. Anyways, moving on to number 4, which is the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES, or SNES, depending on how much you care about pronouncing each individual letter. I always thought that was funny that everybody says a little differently. Some people will just say Super Nintendo, some people will say SNES, and some people will say SNES. And I don't know. Not sure where I'm going with that. So I guess we'll all have to drink. I really like the Super Nintendo for a lot of the same reasons I like the Nintendo 64. It was kind of a generation in gaming where games were breaking the mold and doing things that they had never done before. The original Nintendo Entertainment System, that was like things that had been done in arcades forever, but now it was at home. That's cool. And the Super Nintendo kind of took that a step further, and in addition to just being a home console, it was also kind of a new storytelling medium. It was in the Super Nintendo era where we first got games like Final Fantasy IV and Zelda 3 was A Link to the Past, and those kind of games, which were in series before that, in this original Nintendo era, they had storylines, and they weren't even bad, but they were very, very simple because there wasn't the technology there to make them intricate, detailed storylines that gamers today have come to know and love. And there's something to be said about that. Just bringing gaming from being a game that you play to a new way to express thought as a writer is truly something magnificent that came out of the Super Nintendo era. Also, the Super Nintendo just had one of the biggest libraries of games. It was only broken by PlayStation 2 because PlayStation 2 was backwards compatible with the PlayStation 1 games as well. I think is what I read somewhere. Don't quote me on that until you look it up on a disreputable source like Wikipedia or something. But even so, there was just hundreds of games for this thing that I didn't even play most of, obviously. I don't think anybody... I mean, I'm sure there's one random guy somewhere with a giant collection of video games that has played every single Super Nintendo game. But, I mean, I bet most people probably couldn't even name half of them. There was just that many. And there's so many that gamers will come back to again and again. You have Zelda 3. You have Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, technically, although I don't remember which of those were released in English, because I ended up getting those on the Game Boy Advance, but that's for another video. Or maybe I'm just rambling on, and therefore I need to drink. My drink sign. Here's my drink sign. Drink. Going on to number 3 is the Wii U. That's right. Wii U is the third greatest Nintendo console in my opinion. I really love playing games on this thing. I love having that second screen, whether it's on the DS or on the Wii U pad or whatever. I think it's just a really cool idea. As much as people pass it off as a gimmick, it's a gimmick that works and does a lot of things that wouldn't be possible without that gimmick. For example, in any of the Zelda remakes, you've got your inventory management on the second screen, and the best thing is you can literally just be like looking down to see what your map is doing and looking back up to fight your monsters, which is so handy. You don't need to press a button, you don't need to do anything. It's just there the whole time. It kind of makes it feel like a more legitimate experience. Also, this thing is big. Covers up my whole face. It's huge, and I like that in a controller. I love the original fatty controllers for the original Xbox. I used one of those all the time. That was my controller, was the fatty one, and all my brothers used the slim, or whatever it was called. I think it was called the slim. Were they called fatty and slim? That seems like, I don't know, discriminatory, but I feel like that's exactly what they were called. Shame on you, Microsoft. Anyways, this thing is just so comfortable because it's so big, and it's got all your same buttons in roughly the same place as any other controller. So 90% of the time, it's the same as playing any other game console, but you've also got your map right here. So, yeah, suck on that, PlayStation, I guess. In addition to that, Nintendo Wii U has the consistently highest rated first-party titles of any system available right now. Xbox One and PlayStation 4 have the specs, but Wii U has the games as far as first-party goes. They are unfortunately not doing very well with third-party support. I'm sure we're all aware of that. But their first-party games are great. There is not one game that I have played by Nintendo for the Wii U that I would not go back right now and play again. I love every game that I own for this, and I'm just going to keep on playing them. So, take that. I don't know why I keep, like, threatening people. Like Microsoft and shit. Anyway, number 2 is Game Boy. This thing is also really big, which is awesome. I love just having a big thing that I can do. I still have this, and I still play it all the time. It has one of my favorite Zelda games, maybe my favorite Zelda game. I don't know. I'll do a top 5 video on that eventually, and then maybe I'll decide which one is actually my favorite. I love them all so much. But this thing is also completely indestructible. You could throw a nuke at this, and I bet I would still be able to turn it on and play Zelda. One of the best things about the Game Boy is that it has only 2 buttons to really do stuff with. You have A and B, and you move your guy with the little control pad. That's pretty much it. And because of that, games had to be designed very cleverly to make proper use of those 2 buttons that you have. If they didn't, then they were boring and, gone in 5 minutes. But Nintendo proved time and time again that you can make a great game with only 2 buttons if you're really thinking about it. And finally, the number 1 best Nintendo console of all time is the Nintendo new 3DS XL. I bet none of you saw that coming, huh? This thing is great. Again, with the 2-screen thing. I just love that. This is my favorite model of it. I would almost go out to say that the 3DS is my favorite console, but it's not. If they hadn't made this, then I'm not sure the 3DS would have made the list, because it was, in its original form, kind of clunky and gimmicky. The 3D didn't work very well, because you had to hold it exactly at the right angle, and then, the gyroscope controls worked pretty well, except if you had the 3D on, and then you're like, I'm going to look up here, except now I shifted it very slightly, and now there's 5 frames of everything, and I can't tell what I'm shooting at, or, whatever it is you're doing. But with this, with the face tracking technology, I have the 3D all the way up pretty much all the time, unless I want to save the battery, and it just works so well. You get to do all your weird gyro controls, which, as gimmicky as they are, sometimes they're just really, really fun in a game. Especially like Ocarina of Time, that doesn't use them much, but when they use them, they really work, and they kind of add something to the game. In Ocarina of Time and the Majora's Mask, both remade for the 3DS, you can use your item and then go into the first person like you did, and then aim your bow or your hook shot or whatever. And as cheesy as that may sound, it's a ton of fun. And it's accurate, and it's functional. It's a really cool kind of design that they did. Also, the screens are just so big. I would go out of my way to argue that this is the perfect handheld console ever made if the Game Boy wasn't so comfortable. But I digress. There were a few, as I said, flaws with the original design, but this just fixed all of them. Plus, you've got your little C-stick, and you've got your extra shoulder buttons. This is basically a home console that you can take in your pocket. And if there's any game that proves that, it's got to be Hyrule Warriors Legends, which is better than the original, but it's on here instead of on the Wii U. They literally ported a home console game to this, gave you all the DLC packs for free, and added a crap load of content. And they got away with it because this is such a powerful system in relativeness to other consoles, obviously, handheld consoles, I should say. But that's got to go a long way to show you. Thanks for watching my video, guys. And be sure to share, comment, like, and subscribe because I asked so nicely. Also, go ahead and follow me on social media and look up my website, why not? Okay, bye!